Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the RPG Rundown. My name is Seth.
And I'm Jeff. From Dungeons to Deep Space, we've got the systems and the stories for your table. Today on episode 13, we are in our final episode of season 2, and we are pumped to have played Tales of the Valiant with some of our faithful players. We played the first part of the intro adventure, Caverns of the Spore Lord. Today we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about our first impressions, some of the differences we've seen between Tales of the Valiant and Wizards of the Coast D&D, what our thoughts were, pros, cons. We're going to get to look at it from the GM side as well as a player side. Yeah, pretty cool episode coming up today.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're just jumping right into our main topic, which is Tales of the Valiant.
Yes.
We're going to take a look at it. It is a 5e rule set uh, by Kobold Press, and it was formerly known as Black Flag, but it was renamed Tales of the Valiant. And it launched as a Kickstarter about a year ago, actually, on June 23rd, 2023. It was actually funded, and over 10,000 backers pledged 1.15. Let's see, $1,151,914 just on the Kickstarter.
That's
That
awesome.
does not count, all the add-ons that people
Hmm.
added on to the back end. But it does contain both the player's guide and the monster vault.
Yeah.
So monster manual, essentially.
Hmm.
And what's awesome is that they have released the digital versions of these, with the physical versions incoming within the next 2 weeks. I think they said Australia might actually be getting theirs first, like
Hmm.
this week,
That's pretty cool.
and
Right.
then the rest of the world in the next couple weeks. So
Yeah.
hopefully, because I was a backer, I should be getting the physical books very soon. But I did get the digital versions, which is
Hmm.
part of the reason why we played this. And then not only that, but they did release on the Alchemy RPG virtual tabletop, which is
Right.
where we played our
Of
session.
course.
And so we're gonna talk about all of those things.
Hmm.
But let's start off with the beginning, shall we?
Sure.
Character creation.
Yeah.
I was the GM. So Jeff is going to talk about character creation. How was character creation in Tales of the Valiant?
Sure. So, one thing I really liked about just the Tales of Valiant from the player's guide is the character creation is broken down in literally a step-by-step format. Now, I can dive really far into what I loved about it, but I know we're going to be talking about a few different aspects later on. One thing to remember when you're creating a character in Tales of the Valiant, though, is that you have a lineage and a heritage. You don't just have a race like you have in like 5e. You actually have a lineage, which might be whether you're a dwarf or an elf, or as I was, a beastkin, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty amazing. It is just pretty much any humanoid beast that you want to be. I was a otter. I was an otter creature who didn't. Anyway, don't dive in that character too much. It was a lot of fun. Um, I got to play a beastkin, so you might have that, which is your lineage, but your heritage might be even though you're a dwarf, you were raised by elves or something like that, and that'll affect your character differently. But you follow the checklist just step by step. You'll choose your class, which there are kind of all your typical classes. There was one that was kind of different, which was the mechanist, which one of our players actually played as the mechanist, which was really cool. We'll talk about that
It
a little bit
was.
later. Yes, and then we have your ability scores, which are kind of your normal strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. However, there are three different ways for you to find out your stats: the traditional rolling, then there's point buy, and then there is the standard array. Just to be noted, all of those are a little bit higher than 5e. One of the things I kind of picked up on from Tales of the Valiant is they want your characters to be powerful, right? Like
They
all the way from the
definitely wanted
beginning.
level one to feel
Yeah.
better, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we even end up with talents, which is something we'll kind of dive into later as well. You get talents at level 1. But yeah, as you go through, you take your stats. Then you're going to choose your heritage, which is your almost like your race, but a little bit different. This is kind of the like whether you are dwarf, beast, and whatever. Then you'll choose your lineage, then your heritage, then your background, and then you get your starting equipment. But as far as just creating it, you can create it on Alchemy RPG, which some of us did, or you can go to koboldpress.com and just look up the Tales of the Valiant character sheet, and it's actually a form fillable character sheet, which I found to be a whole lot easier. Was to create it there first and then just import
Yeah,
all the stuff into Alchemy, just manually just re-input the stuff. But I don't know. Overall, I found the character creation really fun. I enjoyed some of the differences from it than some of the ways it's different from 5e.
yeah,
Like specifically the lineage and heritage and background. Just those three kind of makes a unique character, even if you are playing a fairly ordinary race.
absolutely. And I mean, obviously, Tales of the Valiant is a 5e system. It is based off of
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
SRD that Wizards of the Coast released into, or the OGL, basically what they released into the Creative Commons license.
Hmm.
And so, it, because they did that, Tales of the Valiant was able to take that and create their own 5e system, add things that Wizards of the Coast doesn't have in their player guide, which is, Wizards does not have the Artificer in theirs.
Hmm.
Like you said, that's why the Mechanist is such a big deal. I do like how different it is from the Artificer.
It is different. It's not a direct copy of an
It
artificer.
really
It's very
isn't.
nice.
It really is. Definitely the same spirit of the class, I would
Hmm.
say.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good
That
way to put it.
arcane creation, arcane
Right.
builder or crafter,
Right.
but it leans a lot heavier into the magical crafting side of things. I feel
Hmm.
like,
Right.
even to the point of being able to change your weapon on the fly or your
Hmm.
magical
That was really
tool
cool.
on the
Yeah.
fly. Like in Wizards of the Coast, you can create magical tools for whatever
Hmm.
you need, but this one is like you can create a magical weapon for whatever you
Right.
need right at level 1.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Our player actually, started out with a halberd and then in the middle of the fight changed it
Yeah.
to a scythe.
Yes.
And that was cool.
And part of the reason he did that was for the weapon options, which is a difference we're going to talk about in a minute.
Indeed. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so okay, so character creation was good. I would be curious too. When was the last time that you created a character not on D&D Beyond?
Uh,
In Wizards of the
yeah.
Coast, actually gone through the book. Um, I think
Hmm.
maybe that would be good to do whenever we get the new version of Wizards of the Coast's
Hmm.
player
For sure.
player guide, whatever it's called.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I've never created my own character that way. I've only ever created my characters on D&D Beyond. But my
I would say
wife
most people.
prefers the pen and paper. My
Yeah,
wife prefers to just sit down with the books with the pen and paper and do it like that. I don't. I use D&D Beyond.
yeah. No, I totally get that.
Hmm.
It's it's so much easier, and you can
Oh,
just
it's
go
so
through
much
it, bang,
easier.
bang,
Yeah.
bang. But again, I think there is like in our exploration of all these other systems,
Hmm.
most of these don't have the digital tool set like D&D Beyond to do
Right.
character
No.
creation.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, it funny enough, I had a character creator for the Star Wars Fantasy Flight system ages ago, like before D&D Beyond came out. And
Hmm.
it was very D&D Beyond like in that it had all the rules there
Hmm.
and you got to like pick things and it unlocked other things for you to use. But other than that, until, Demiplane is kind of the first alternative.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the first alternative to D&D Beyond. Let me take that back.
Hmm.
There
Okay.
are a bunch of character creators out there, but they are all homebrewed, made by
Hmm.
somebody, maybe somebody very talented, and maybe they're very good, but they didn't have the backing of like Demiplane.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Demiplane's
Demiplane is the
got
first
a lot more notice. Yeah.
competitor to,
Hmm.
and they do have character builders for other systems, and are going to have
Hmm.
more into the
Right.
future. But with all the ones we're looking at, even still, a lot of them are still going to have to be from the PDF or the book.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, So yeah,
Yeah, and
I think it'll be something that we should definitely explore when the new version comes out of D&D
mhm,
from Wizards of the Coast. Because I know it is going to change a little bit, and to see
right.
how closely it gets to kind of what Tales of the Valiant has done, where I feel like from some of my readings of the early test material, they want to make level 1 more viable, I think. So,
Yeah, which I mean is definitely needed. I will say I don't think I've ever started a campaign, a D&D campaign at level 1. I think even when the very first time I played with you, we started at level 3, and I've kept that going in my GMing as
yeah,
well. Pretty much any game I run, we just start at level 3.
I think we did our first encounter as level 2, just so that
Did we?
could
Okay.
understand your
Hmm.
character. But I mean, I literally had you level up like probably the first session still.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Um, and again, it was really just to have you learn how to play your character, like
Right.
what
Yeah.
abilities you had. But you're right. I mean,
Hmm.
I I very rarely have games that start at level 1 because 2 or 3 is just so much more into it.
Hmm.
And then not only on top of that, but I feel like when people start at level 1, a lot of times maybe they're trying to do the XP system,
Hmm.
and unless you're even if you're playing weekly, um,
Right.
it can take several weeks just to get to level 2 from an XP
Right.
standpoint. If you're like
Right.
following rules as written XP,
If you're following rules as written,
then
definitely.
it you're at level 1 and you
Yeah.
are very easily killed at level 1.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which I feel like maybe that's where some of the reputation for players getting killed so often comes from, is like the level 1, level 2 stages when they're
Right.
super squishy and they just got killed by like a random kobold party or a random,
Yeah.
encounter of wolves out in the forest or something. And it just went horribly wrong for them.
Right.
But yeah, so
Which could
let's
easily
talk
happen.
about okay, character creation feels good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Level 1
Character
seems
is good.
viable.
Hmm.
The lineage and heritage, lineage being your kind of race,
Hmm.
um, and then heritage being your background or how you
Right.
were raised. But
Yeah.
then it's
Yeah.
not quite the
Yeah.
same
Because
as
there's still a
that.
background. There is still background too.
There is
So
still a background, and so that's why
heritage
it's
is
not
more like your
quite the same,
upbringing.
right?
Yeah.
So it would be like if you were a elf,
Hmm.
but you were raised by dwarves,
Hmm. Exactly.
you could
Yeah.
potentially have a dwarven feat from
Hmm.
your heritage, and yet still have something from your elven lineage
Right.
as
Yeah.
well. On top of that, then you have a background. Were you a outcast? Were you a, uh, you know, something along
Right.
those lines, which you're typically used to with D&D. So that is a really fun
Hmm.
differentiation.
Yeah.
A
It really is.
couple of the big things though that you use a lot, and we were using this,
Hmm.
we were gaining points, but I looking back, I was like, I don't think anyone actually tried to
We
use their
we
luck
we
points.
never use them. Yeah. I
Um,
was waiting for the time to use it,
yeah.
and it never came. It was either like I was clearly above what I needed to be, or I was too far below to make
Well,
use
see,
of it.
that's the thing, is that I think you have to, and we're going to look at the rules for it here in a second because
Mhm.
I want to make sure that I understand it. Um, so, in fact, let's just pull that up real fast.
Yeah. And so anyone, as you're listening in right now, we are now talking about luck points. We knew what we were talking about, but I don't know that we said those words until just now.
Yes.
So
So that
we
is
are talking
the
about one of the new
Tales of the
things in.
Valiant has a system uh, of luck points, and that is
Hmm.
something that is really cool.
Hmm.
Um, and so it is an active mechanic
Hmm.
that Tales of the Valiant has, and it's for everybody.
Right.
It's not just for halflings,
Hmm.
like
Right.
Wizards of the Coast.
Hmm.
Um,
So one thing I didn't look at all because I know that's the GM side, but players get luck points, and from my understanding, GMs get Doom points, right? Did you get to mess around with Doom any? at all?
I didn't mess around with it at all.
Okay, okay.
And so it's interesting because that definitely feels like um, kind of similar to the point system that is in Daggerheart,
Daggerheart,
or
Daggerheart.
that is
Yeah.
also in the Genesis system.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, so yeah, let me see here.
Okay. So
Let
while
me
you're doing
grab.
that, I'll give a quick overview of luck itself.
Oh, I have it right
Um,
here, actually.
okay, cool.
So yeah, so basically, luck is any time that you fail a roll. Okay,
Mhm.
whenever you create your character, you have 0 luck. You gain luck in the following ways: once per turn, when you fail to hit with an attack roll, or you fail a save. So not just failing like an ability check, but a saving throw, or you fail an attack, you gain a luck.
Mhm.
The GM can award a luck as a reward for clever ideas.
Mhm.
You
Which
know,
is
excellent,
nice.
excellent role play. So it still kind of
Right.
has that inspiration and feeling.
Right. It kind of adds
Um,
sort of like inspiration.
right.
But
And
I
then,
do think that's cool. It's a mechanic you're using a little bit more because I always forget about inspiration.
uh
So I
huh.
usually put a post-it on my computer screen or something, just so I remember I have inspiration. Whereas luck is something you're using pretty much throughout your whole campaign. So, being awarded that is something you'll make sure
Yeah,
you make use of.
absolutely. The GM can award it to the whole group, like maybe for surviving a particularly difficult encounter. Uh, you can have a maximum of 5 luck points. Okay. And so the reason there's a max or a cap for how many you have is because the game wants you to spend your luck points.
Hmm.
And this is how you can spend them. You can spend a luck point to add a 1-for-1 bonus to any check that you make, whether it's a check, an attack roll, or a saving throw. So say this is an example the book gives you. You have 4 luck, and you roll a 13 on the die. You can spend 2 luck to make your result 15, leaving you with 2 luck for later.
Hmm.
Alternatively, immediately after you make a check, an ability check or save, attack, ability check or save, you can spend 3 luck points to re-roll a d20 for the check. That was one I had forgotten about. So that's
Hmm.
really cool. If you
Oh
have three
yeah,
luck points, you can just burn 3 to re-roll.
yeah, that's pretty good.
Which is kind of like your halfling luck, like
Hmm.
re-rolling ones, but instead it's a lot more controlled for the player, which I think is awesome.
Hmm.
And then luck can't stop a critical miss, and it can't be added to make a critical hit. So if you roll an 18, you add 2 luck, you don't get a critical roll.
Right.
It has to be natural still.
Yep. And if you're rolling that one, still a critical failure.
Still a critical failure.
Yep.
Now, granted, maybe you could still use it in that scenario, but I don't know why you would want to per se.
Right.
Um, so those are the ways that you can accrue luck and spend luck.
Hmm.
And again, I think that it is awesome in that it gives players a little bit more for doing that. Also, too, if you do hit the cap of your luck, by the way, there is kind of a penalty for it. So, I was trying to see where that is actually, but
Um. Yeah.
yeah, if you gain more than 5 luck points, you have to
Mhm.
immediately roll a d4 and reset your luck total to the number rolled. So,
Yeah. Hmm. Now, there is a really cool talent that I actually looked at getting,
mm-hmm.
and it had to do with luck. So anytime I would gain luck, I would actually gain 2 luck rather than one. And then whenever I would lose luck, I could actually roll my d4 and I'd gain like my d4 plus 2. So
Awesome.
I think it's Touch of Luck is the talent. I highly considered it. It seemed like a pretty cool talent.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome for sure.
Mhm.
Um, so let's see here. Um, do you remember where you saw about the GM getting Doom points? I don't know. I actually didn't
Um,
know that was a thing.
So I didn't see it in my players because all I have is the players guide. I assume that was going to be in the the
Mm-hmm.
GM's guide. One when we were actually playing, I was also streaming, and one of the individuals in there had GM'd it, and he was talking about Doom,
Okay.
the Doom points and stuff. But I remember seeing it. I
So
remember maybe hearing about it somewhere else.
Kobold Press has also kickstarted the Game Master's guide, essentially, and it is not out yet. However,
Ah, okay.
um, I do have a preview of it, so I wonder if it's in that.
Okay. It might be. All I know, someone was telling me about it, and I was like, oh, so like, yeah, the GM gets something, basically like we have, which reminded me again of Daggerheart. I think that's what I actually said in my chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
Um.
actually just did a search for it in mine. I'm guessing because mine's the player's guide, it didn't have anything in it, but
Yeah. No, I didn't have anything in mine either. So.
okay.
But like I said, in the Game Master's guide, I'm just scanning the table of contents to see if it
Hmm.
says anything about it because, um, that's
Hmm.
luck was definitely part in there as
Right.
something.
Hmm.
So I'm not seeing anything at the moment.
Okay.
So I wonder if that was something else that user was thinking of, or maybe he wasn't
So
thinking of Tales of the Valiant.
I will say this, as I just typed in Doom, so maybe this is a little teaser. I just did a search in the player's guide. There's a, what is it, talent or there's a talent or something that says supplicant, and it says you have proficiency in either insight or persuasion skill, and it says when a creature within 30 feet of you spends Doom, and so maybe that's a hint toward like they spend Doom points.
Gotcha.
So I did find that here just in the player's guide.
Okay. Well, it isn't a clear mechanic as
Yes,
of yet.
not a
So
clear mechanic. Okay, I thought it was,
not
but
and
not
it
yet
may be
anyway.
something that yeah, that may be something else, or maybe in reference to an old system. I don't know.
Hmm. Right.
Like I said, if you said it was in the player's guide, I would think that it would be.
Right. Yeah. Don't see it in the player's guide, unfortunately.
Um, I mean, I see the supplicant thing that you're
Hmm.
talking about. Um, but that
Hmm.
is not visible many other places, like the word doom.
Right. Yeah. I realize it's only in that used in that way isn't used anywhere else. So I don't know. Maybe that will be coming at a later time then. I'll have to.
Well, we'll find out. Or if you know where to look, leave us a
Yes.
comment.
Right. Absolutely. We will check the comments for and see if
For
there's an
sure.
answer to that.
Okay. Well, moving on.
Mhm.
Uh, Besides luck points as a new mechanic,
Mhm.
Tales of Valiant also has weapon options, which are fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, probably one of my favorite aspects
yes,
of this has been the weapon options. Very very cool.
yeah, it's awesome because it just makes sense,
Hmm.
you know.
No, it really does. Yeah.
And they're not the first to have this kind of thing,
Right.
um, by any means, but I do
Hmm.
like that it has them. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I do
um,
too.
and it's pretty cool because there's some tables in there, and
Mhm.
each weapon has its own properties. So like, you had a rapier, for
Mhm.
example, and
Yes.
what was the weapon option for that?
The weapon option on a rapier was disarm. So basically, I could make an attack roll and I could attempt to disarm. Actually, I have it pulled up right here. It says make an attack roll on a hit. The target must succeed on a strength or dex save, target's choice, or they drop a weapon, shield, or object they are wielding. It says dropped item lands in unoccupied space within 5 feet. If no unoccupied space is within range, the item lands at target's feet. Yeah. But I still have that option that I could try to disarm. That's just built right
Yeah,
into my weapon.
it's crunchy, but I
Hmm.
love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
love it. And it's not the only one. I mean, like,
Hmm.
and obviously each one of these weapon options has a longer description, but in the table
Hmm.
for your for your weapons, you still have your simple weapons, both melee and ranged. You have your
Mhm.
martial melee and martial ranged. But then yeah, like you have like a sling. Okay, a simple ranged weapon has ricochet shot,
Yeah.
right? And that's it's make an attack roll with this weapon against a target you can see that has half or 3/4 cover. Your chosen target must be within 10 feet of another object or structure that hasn't or that isn't the same item, providing it with cover. So
Mhm.
like between two walls or something. And we can treat the target's AC as if it wasn't behind cover, because essentially you are throwing that sling
Mhm.
stone, and you're going to ricochet it off the back and hit the person
Yeah.
hiding behind cover.
So good. And I
Awesome.
think what I like
That
is,
makes a simple weapon
yeah,
very desirable. Way more desirable than
yeah.
just be like, oh, I got to get a martial weapon as soon as possible.
Well, it's one of those things too. Like if you've ever been in a combat encounter and you're sitting there and just like all I have is a short bow. All I have is a short bow. Or it's like all I
Mm-hmm.
have is, and like it's like okay, I fire a shot, I fire a shot, I fire a shot, I fire a shot. Like at this point, you can be like, oh, do I want to fire a shot or do I want to go for a ricochet shot like that, or
Yeah.
let's see what's on a longbow here,
I was
or
going
do
to
I
say,
want to go
short
for a
bow doesn't have
pinning
one,
shot?
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And neither
So like
does
a
a light
longbow has like
crossbow, but
pinning,
yeah. But there's so
right?
many, but like all
But
the
it
melee
just gives you
weapons.
options, which is cool.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is the whole thing, right? Weapon options.
Hmm.
Spear has pull and trip as well.
Hmm. Cool.
Besides
That's nice.
thrown, you could use a
Hmm.
spear to trip somebody. You could use a
Hmm.
spear to pull, maybe pull them closer, like stab them and try
Hmm.
to pull them closer.
Right.
You've got a sickle. The sickle has hamstring. Hamstring. You
Hmm.
could literally hamstring somebody with it.
Right.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think the weapon options are
Yeah.
amazing. You've also, and it's not a massive list of these options either.
Right. No. They're not crazy, and one thing I really like about it is you could take those and pretty much bring them into any game. I mean, I think one of the benefits of Tales
You
of
really
Valiant
could.
is if you're already running 5e, it's very easy to implement what they have. Like you could grab the luck system and just bring it into your game tomorrow. You know, you could bring these weapon options, just grab them, bring them into your game, and you've just added that and enhanced your game in a way that you like.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was one thing that our players, especially the mechanist, definitely used in our
Hmm.
playtest, which
Oh
was
yeah,
a lot of fun.
yeah.
Um, well, speaking of the mechanist, let's talk a little bit about it, because it is the unique class
Hmm.
in Tales of the Valiant. So yeah, let's talk about that. What was your
Yes.
first or overall impression of it?
So I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't know a lot about it until I actually talked with Tad afterwards, just a little bit about it. So the way that it differed is, from at least what he was saying, is the Mechanist doesn't actually have any kind of spells. The items that the Mechanist uses itself is actually magical, and so
Mm-hmm.
like we mentioned earlier, he had the magical weapon that that was a halberd that he quickly, which he used it with his one of his talents to actually keep the enemies away. He was kind of our tank in the scenario.
Yeah.
So he was keeping the enemies away so he could reach out to them and hit them from 10 feet away with his halberd. And then when they got closer into range, he turned it into a scythe and used, a different weapon option, which was
Yeah.
really,
So,
really neat.
well, and it was funny too, because he definitely read the rules to the point where he kind of metagamed it a little bit, but it was in the
Right.
best way possible, because
Oh,
he
yeah.
was as a human mechanist, he was able, and with a particular background or heritage, he was able to get 2 talents at level 1.
Hmm.
And one of
That's
them he
crazy.
used for Vanguard, which is essentially Sentinel in 5e, which
Right.
means that if anyone comes within range and tries to attack another person, that you then can make an opportunity attack. So
Mhm.
cool. Uh, what was even cooler is because he was using the Mechanist, and had his Shard of Creation, which is kind of their first level Mechanist feature,
Mhm.
which gives you basically, um, something else. So he was able to basically create. that weapon with it.
Mm.
He had reach with that halberd and the sickle. Like, he had a 10-foot
Mhm.
reach. So he had a massive reach blocking any incoming attacks to his party, which was very cool.
Right.
So, so yeah, he interrupted several attacks and even killed one of the enemies before it could potentially kill the sorcerer.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, it was pretty
Mhm.
cool.
It's
Uh,
a really interesting class. I like that it's not just a complete copy of the Artificer,
yeah,
but it is its own thing.
it has some copied things. I mean, there's
Yeah.
augments at
Sure.
level 2, which are very
Mhm.
similar to the augments that the artificer gets. There's 2 subclasses though in here. One of them is, let's see, trying to remember
Uh.
what they're called.
Uh. Metallurgist or Spellwright.
Yes, the metallurgist and this,
Mm-hmm.
is that what it is? Spellwright. Yeah,
Spellwright. Yeah.
spellwright. So, and again, those are at level 3, similar to
Mm-hmm.
5e, but very different subclasses
Mm-hmm.
than the artificer in Tasha's Cauldron. So,
Right.
um, highly encourage you to explore that for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so overall, it's probably 85% 5e as we know
Mm-hmm.
it from Wizards of the Coast,
Sure.
which is not a bad thing.
Or so
I
I would
think
say that. Yeah.
5e is fantastic. I like 5e.
Mm-hmm.
We started this podcast to explore many other systems besides 5e,
Yeah.
but I do like 5e, and both of us play our main campaigns in 5e at
Mm-hmm.
the moment.
Absolutely.
That being said, what do you think from a player's perspective? What did you
Mm-hmm.
think about 5e? Like,
Yeah. Tells Valiant. Uh. Oh. Okay. So this is my thing. I really enjoyed our session. And I think a large portion of that for me is because I got to just sit down and play D&D.
mm,
Like, I mean, it was 5e. And so for the most part there was this comfort to it, to where I knew what I was doing. I knew the rules. Like, I kind of knew going, whereas a lot of our other play tests, it's like you're almost playing blind here, and you're like
yeah,
learning, picking up rules as you go. And so I think, like, maybe even a cheater reason, but I really enjoyed that just because it was so much 5e. I think
uh huh,
85-90% is very accurate. But I liked what they did different too. Like, I loved, like we talked about, the luck system, the weapon options. I love the lineage heritage. Like, I really enjoyed all of that, and I think for me it's sort of like what I like about TTRPGs is that you can have something like 5e that has the rule set that everyone knows and everybody
yeah,
follows, but then you can add stuff into it to make it your own game and make it fun for you and your group. And I feel like that's kind of what they've done here with Tales of the Valiant. Is they've
absolutely.
used that base and then they've added stuff to improve it. Um,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. And then from a GM perspective, um, like I said, we did play Caverns of the Spore Lord, which is one of their intro adventures for first level, and it was really good. It was really well written, but it wasn't written in order to be a progressive story necessarily.
right.
It was written in such a way that, hey, this is the story of what's going on. There's a bunch of different ways you can get there, but not in so hard of a way that you get lost in it.
Mhm.
And so, because of the decisions you, the players, made, you were like, oh, we're gonna search now. Obviously there's some triggers like that they give you information on where it says this is a trigger. Once the players enter the town, they're going to be attacked.
Mhm.
And then there's another trigger where it's like, oh, they're going to meet this person if they search in the longhouse in the middle, or they're going
Mhm.
to meet these people if they search the general shop. If they go door to door and they search houses, Some of the empty houses have enemies in them, and they may have a random encounter in there. Also, for every hour they spend searching the town, there's, roll, and if you get above a certain number, roll on the random encounters table. So very open in how this adventure was written, and I did like it.
Right.
Like I said, it wasn't quite as beginner DM friendly as, say, Daggerheart, where it walked you through everything, kind of holding your hand.
Sure.
Which I don't think is bad. I think Daggerheart's, again, I think Daggerheart's onboarding.
No, we both very much enjoyed Daggerheart.
From a GM and a player's perspective, I
Right.
think Daggerheart has the best onboarding experience at this point. That being said, I think that there are other books that have great onboarding experiences as well. I think this one was great for someone who has DM'd, who has maybe DM'd before, or it could even be good for someone who has never DM'd before.
Right.
Because it's also a different approach. It's very open. So I think it was great in that regard.
Excellent.
And yeah, there's all sorts of really fun stuff, really fun characters. There were some, random encounter tables. And then there was all these little things, like I said, that they did give you. They gave you descriptions. They gave you things like, well, if you talk to this person, this is what they'll tell you. This is what they'll tell you if you do this first. If you roll above this on a check, this is what they'll reveal. So there was a lot of good information there for that as well, which I thought was great for a beginning adventure. Definitely something to get started. So yeah, I think the GM impression and this was just an intro adventure. I think that if you sign up for the email from Tales of the Valiant, you might be able to get it for free. And I might have it for free that way. However, I did, it was like $5 on the Alchemy RPG site to basically have all of the things from it. So I paid it. And again, too, if you do buy this on Alchemy RPG, you do get the PDFs of these books for free with it. Or not for free, but included. So I thought that was even better, is that it's the digital version from the VTTs. You're getting it more than just what they present in the VTT.
Right. Nice.
So yeah, okay, let's see. Pros and cons of Tales of the Valiant. A big pro is that a lot of people are going to be familiar with it.
Sure.
Being
Absolutely.
that it's 85 to 90% 5e. I think you could easily transition your party to playing this. In fact, funny enough, and very smart on them, they have a conversion guide for it. And it talks about the things that can convert easily and things that cannot convert as easily.
Right.
And
it's free on their website.
It is free on their website.
Yep.
One of the things that is not convert as easily are Tales of the Valiant classes with 5e subclasses. So you could definitely play a game and have a 5e. You could have a D&D class and subclass with a Tales of the Valiant class and subclass, but they said, it really doesn't translate well to have a Tales of the Valiant class with a D&D subclass.
Right.
Or a D&D class with a Tales of the Valiant subclass. Did I repeat myself, or did I switch it right? That's correctly. I don't know.
I think we know what you mean, though.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that they were like, yeah, this doesn't work, or don't, you shouldn't necessarily do this.
Right. Okay.
That said, a lot of everything will still work. Luck could still work. Weapon options could still work. It's 5e.
Yeah.
That is a massive pro. I think there's a lot of people who, when Kobold Press announced they were doing the Black Flag project, and it was going to be under the, they were going to have the Orc license, which is like, the non-Wizards OGL, and it was going to be, free, and they were never going to change it like Wizards was trying to do. And this was during the big OGL scandal. And then after Wizards of the Coast announced that they were doing it in Creative Commons. I don't know if Kobold Press shifted at that point and decided just to change Tales of the Valiant to be a 5e system. But I think there's a lot of people that were disappointed that it was a 5e system. And I understand that, because some of those people who were disappointed really wanted them to come out with something unique and fresh. But I think at the end of the day, Kobold Press had been making 5e content for years.
Right.
And I think they like 5e. And so making their own version of 5e, I think, was a natural step. But I think it also plays to their strengths. And honestly, if you still have a bitter taste in your mouth with Wizards, for their, they're constantly making mistakes, I feel like, then this is a great option for you. You can use all of your old 5e books with Tales of the Valiant. Absolutely. May have to adjust things here and there, but the adventures, the monsters could be shifted over pretty easily. It's going to work for sure. Right. Especially if you're sitting around a table.
Which is really nice, because I mean, I was kind of putting the fact that it is 5e. I mean, essentially it's still 5e as a pro because everyone knows it, but also as a con because it's like, you know what, I know 5e, and really I'm in this endeavor because I want to find something I like more.
It is a little bit of a con, yes.
Right, and so, but then as you say that too, it's right. Like, okay, you don't want to support Wizards anymore, but you have all this D&D stuff. Do you just sell all your D&D books and pick up one of these new RPGs that's taken off?
Well, that could be really expensive.
Right, that could be very expensive. So it's like, no, now we just move to Tales of the Valiant. We support Kobold Press, and we can still use our old stuff. That's perfect. If you want something unique, Daggerheart, DC 20. If you want something completely unique and away from 5e altogether, like pick up one of these other new ones. This is a great option if you still want to use that 5e content that you already have.
Because we're in 5e for D&D, people forget that that's literally what Pathfinder was. Pathfinder was 3.5 D&D. And after, Wizards of the Coast made everybody mad back then. And so they made their own version, and it was 3.5 D&D. And then, D&D went on to 4, and Pathfinder stayed its own thing. And then Pathfinder 2.0 has basically differentiated itself completely from D&D at this point, but is still kind of based on some of that really crunchy 3.5 mechanics and stuff like that with their own twist. So, Kobold Press is kind of doing the same thing at this point.
Kind of doing the same thing, yeah.
Now, cons too is that if you try to say, hey, do you want to play, Tales of the Valiant or ToV, it's not going to have the recognition of D&D.
Right.
So I feel like what a lot of people are going to say is, hey, do you want to play D&D? Yes. Okay, we're playing 5e, but it's the Tales of the Valiant version. Here's the document.
Yes, exactly.
And so
I'm pretty sure when I pitched it to my players to play, I said it pretty much the same way.
Yes,
absolutely. So, yeah, you're right.
So that's a little bit of a con for it. I think, maybe too, as Wizards releases their new versions for 2024, they're going to kind of see what Tales of the Valiant did, maybe, because a lot of the things that they changed in some of the Unearthed Arcana that they had everybody test kind of were on similar veins of advancement that Tales of the Valiant was doing, and maybe they come out and they have some better mechanics than Tales of the Valiant even came out with. So that could be a con too, is that then you have these other things that maybe don't work as well once the new rules come out. But I don't think it'll be that big. The cons are, if you want to support something else, you have to buy other books. It's not going to have the same support that Wizards of the Coast has. Tales of Valiant is on other virtual tabletops. Currently, it's on Alchemy RPG and 2 others. What are the 2 others?
It is on Foundry and Shard Tabletop.
Yes, I believe you are correct.
And
what was the other one? Shard.
Shard is one, and then they also have mentioned here Demiplane and Hero Lab. I'm actually not familiar with Hero Lab.
So I did know it was coming to Demiplane. Alchemy RPG is the one that we've tested it on, and it's great. But we do have some thoughts. We're gonna get to that in a second. And then Shard. I've heard of Shard because I have to try out all the VTTs.
No, absolutely, me too.
I haven't done Hero Lab. I'm curious about that.
I'm actually looking at it right now, falling down a rabbit hole real quick. Looks interesting. There's a character creator and campaign management and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have to check that out.
It looks like interesting. Yeah. Huh. Looks like they have Shadowrun, Starfinder, and Pathfinder on Hero Lab.
Okay.
But it looks very crunchy, kind of like Foundry. So I will say that. So.
Yeah, and as someone who primarily uses Foundry, it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's why we have different options, right?
Oh, absolutely, so many options. And as someone who primarily uses Foundry, I do fully intend to jump over to Alchemy at some point, which we will be talking about Alchemy momentarily. But
well, I mean, let's just talk about it right now, shall we?
Let's do it.
So yeah, Alchemy. First of all, if you get the Alchemy Player's Guide or Caverns of the Spore Lord, it looks amazing, 100%. It's
so
like an enhanced version, kind of. There's all this like cool stuff you've got going on. There's a whole bunch of scenes that they had that you could choose from, which are fantastic pieces of art from the books.
So the scenes, correct me if I'm wrong, the scenes come with both the, like, what I would call the theater of the mind, which is just a nice big picture, and then it also has a tactical mode with an actual battle map type thing, correct?
Only the so if you buy the player guide, it just comes with a bunch of pre-made scenes with artwork. So full page artwork that fits the format of Alchemy RPG.
Okay.
It doesn't come with tactical sides of them. So like I said, it's really just the artwork, which is stunning and looks great.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, but if you get the Cavern of the Spore Lord, which is the only adventure module in our Alchemy RPG right now, it only has one scene because it's an intro adventure, and it does come with a tactical mode map already built in. But
so
it
I was
really
mistaken, but
it is really just one map. So you know, I'm not going to spoil too much of it there, but it comes with a map that is in the PDF, and it's really just kind of a region map. So it's not scaled to like 5-foot battle map size. It's more of like a city map or, like I said, a region map.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
So it'd still be good to maybe create some battle maps to go along with it. But yeah. Also, what's really cool, if you've messed with Alchemy RPG before, a lot of the creatures will just have kind of like generic symbols to represent them. Because Tales of the Valiant has their monster vault already, all of the monsters, if you get the monster vault, all of the monsters have incredible artwork already added to it, which is fantastic. So, you know, anything that you know, this is an NPC from the adventure, and yeah, fantastic artwork going on with it. So it's very cool. So what are your impressions of Tales of the Valiant running an Alchemy RPG? I think it looked visually stunning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Alchemy did what Alchemy does. Like anytime I bring a player to Alchemy, they're always impressed. It's beautiful. It's intuitive. Like I mean, I think we talked about visually, it is unmatched in the VTT space.
Absolutely.
However, I will say for our Tales of the Valiant experience, it was not perfect. The character creator to start with, again, Alchemy is not primarily a character creator. You can create characters in it.
Right.
I just don't recommend it for this. I still recommend doing it on paper and then copying everything over. That, for me, simplified the process. I originally started creating my character just in Alchemy because I thought it'd be easier to do it that way. And for me, anyway, it was not. And so, again, I created on paper, brought it over. I thought that would end up being a lot easier.
Which they have a
But then,
free form fillable PDF
mhm.
of the character
Oh yeah, yeah. You
sheet
can get
to do it with.
on
So
yeah, you can get on Cabal Press's website, which is exactly what I used. And yeah, so that to me that was I mean it's fine. I'm not using alchemy for its character creation tools. And then I think we had a few other issues with like our health. Like the health didn't quite update. We had to go in and manually set the health to something. It just defaulted everybody to 8 health.
yeah, and I don't know if that was just lacking because alchemy technically is still in beta.
Yeah, sure.
And so so basically alchemy treats everything as like a universe.
Hmm.
And so you've got the Tales of the Valiant universe, you've got the D&D 5e universe, you've got everything is like a universe and you can add to your game.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if maybe it just isn't quite complete yet, but yeah,
Right.
you're right. Like basically whenever you chose like whenever you chose a rogue,
Hmm.
it should have known what the rogue hit die was,
Hmm.
to change your health, or like
Right.
the mechanist. The mechanist is a D10, and
Mhm.
so for starting health, it's D10 plus
Mhm.
your con modifier,
Right.
and
Or
so
it's just
ours
10 plus con. Just
right. So it's
it's like
10
the set
plus
number.
10 plus 2 is
Hmm.
12, and it wasn't changing to that, even though they had it selected properly.
Hmm. Right.
So that'll be something that I'm sure that they will
Hmm.
work to do, and
Yeah.
I'll probably
Eh,
report a little bit on these things.
sure.
Maybe also point out to some of their social media, see if they can listen to our
Right.
discussion
But so
and
one
hear
thing,
some things.
another thing too is like anytime you wanted to add, a talent or as my player who played the sorcerer pointed out, if you wanted to add spells to it, you had to manually add those in, copy and paste everything that it does. The spells, at least from what he was saying, wasn't on there. Um,
Interesting.
so um,
Um, I'll have to go look
and
at that because yeah, I
yeah,
I
take a look at that.
wasn't
And again, if we're
as the
mistaken in
GM. I
comments,
didn't
let
do
us
that.
know. I was gonna say I didn't. My character didn't have spells, so I did not do
Yeah.
that either.
No, that's okay.
So,
I
yeah.
can I can look at his character and see
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I feel like the spells and they said the spells were in there
They
for
did say they were in
both
there. Okay.
for both. Now I wonder if maybe I mean he was in my game, so I don't know
Hmm.
why he wouldn't have had access to it. Um,
Right. Yeah, I don't know. He created him in that game, so he should have had access. Unless, I mean, it seems like when we were using alchemy once before, we had trouble getting to the spells, adding spells, and it
right.
seems like maybe there was a checkbox or
So
something we had
I'm
to click
I'm
to
looking
access.
right now,
Hmm.
um, at his character. He was a Siderian, uh,
Hmm.
sorcerer,
Hmm.
and there's a bunch of them in here. I mean, like, Firebolt is here. If when you click on it like this, it highlights it as something that is prepared.
Okay. So he
Um,
might have, I again, I could be mistaken. He might have figured out how to do it, or he could have added those manually. I don't know.
I don't think he added
No,
all these manually because we're going
no.
through
Okay.
this massive list, so they
Okay,
should be
fair.
there.
All right.
Um, Now that said, um, like if you're just looking at it, anyway, that's something that was a little confusing at least for
Right.
sure.
Yes. He did have trouble with it, and he messaged me about it before our play test. But sorry, but I guess he got it figured out.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. And I think part of that too is getting used to alchemy.
Hmm.
I think all of us were still getting used to alchemy, especially
Oh
the
yeah.
changes that it's gone through. Um, but at the same time, I think even after playing that, I feel way more comfortable with alchemy, which I'm going to
Hmm.
start using as well.
Right.
Um, Finding where things were. Also, too, I have to give them props to the video and voice tools
Oh
in
yeah.
alchemy. I don't
Hmm.
think we ever had issues with our voice or the video
No, I don't
in
think so.
in the game itself. And I know some people were running from the browser and some people were running from the app.
Hmm. Yeah.
which is fantastic. And
Yeah, no, I mean, well, as you say that, like I had the app open that I was actually watching the game, but then I had in a browser window the spectator mode open so that I could stream it from the spectator view,
yeah,
and both of them worked flawlessly, and the spectator view had the cameras and mics open the whole time,
yeah,
and as did I. So,
yeah. The spectator view definitely had a few more liberty than I would have wanted in, say, a true spectator or streamer mode.
hmm
Um, like being able to see the journal, the notes, and the chat. I think
oh,
that would be, it would be
interesting.
nice to not have that
It'd be nice if we could turn that
visible.
off. In
Yeah.
the game settings, maybe we could turn that what gets seen in spectator mode. It'd be nice if we could turn that off.
I know streamer mode's being worked on
Yeah.
extensively right now, so that'll be
So
good.
there are two
Um,
things I'm waiting on before I fully move to Alchemy RPG, and I fully intend to. Is I'm waiting on a little bit of tactical side to get worked on because we got to play after we ended our play test. Me and a
hmm
few players hung out and um, played around with it. And one thing I still don't see that you can add is like cones or shapes. Like so one of my players uses darkness
Yeah.
frequently, and so I
hmm
need to be able to mark that on a map where it's and so that's still not there. And then I'm waiting on streamer mode. When streamer mode goes in,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a huge pull for me.
Streamer mode and tactical. Streamer mode is
hmm
definitely being worked on. Tactical is very close. I think they've showed off some tactical mode features similar to that.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, I mean
but
that's
yeah,
really the
I
only
don't
thing
know.
I'm really
So
waiting on at this point
yeah,
is some way to do that.
they finally have some status things changed. They have
Mhm.
trackers. The trackers are really good, actually.
Yeah,
I really
trackers
like
are
them.
excellent.
And I do like the the animations for rolls and stuff. How
hmm
it's just numbers kind of like spinning up like they're on a roller as opposed to
hmm
the virtual dice. I know the
First
virtual
place, yeah,
dice are cool on
they are,
D&D Beyond, but at the same time on D&D
and
Beyond, because they're trying to use special computer programming to
mhm.
simulate physical dice in order to have the true RNG experience, it can take up a lot of
Mhm.
like somebody running it on a low device can take up it can be really choppy. So
Mhm.
I liked this a little better.
Right. Yeah, this is nice, but not as many microtransactions without fun little digital dice.
Also true. Well, overall, I really like Tales of the Valiant. I'm excited for where it's going. I'm a backer. Obviously, I backed
Mhm.
the three main rule books. I don't know that I'll necessarily back everything they put out for it because Kobold Press can put out a lot.
Oh yeah,
Um, but I am excited to see where it goes, and I will
that's
probably
fine.
look at trying to move my regular campaign to Tales of the Valiant. Honestly,
hmm Right.
um, so excited for that.
hmm
What was your what? Give me your final impression for it.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I don't think I'm gonna be going as far as to move my entire campaign over to it at this point. I'm strongly considering pulling over luck, and I'm almost certain I'm pulling over weapon options.
Nice.
Um, and just because those are two things that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I could really see bringing them into my game, and I just love things that can add some fun for the players. Um,
And it's easy to do.
yeah, yeah, it's really easy to do. I mean, pull it over, send it out, let them know what's going on, and then you're kind of done. I definitely want to learn more about Doom points because I could see at least what was again being said in chat, whatever
Yeah,
that is.
I'll have to look at that up. But cause here's the thing. I don't think it's meant to be a main mechanic. Like
No, okay.
I I I I mean, again, luck has been talked about. I've seen luck talked about in videos. I've heard nothing about doom points.
Okay.
So I don't think it's supposed to be a major mechanic like luck, or I
Right.
don't think it's supposed to be a major mechanic um, like the point system in Daggerheart or Star Wars.
hmm
Um,
Sure.
like those. I don't think it's supposed to be a major mechanic. Uh, so I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I'm
um,
not sure. I want to learn more about them because again, that's something I might bring into my own game as well.
yeah.
Um, Yeah.
Well,
Overall, I
also, let's
enjoyed
be
it.
honest. You're waiting for DC 20 to move your campaign over to that.
Yeah. DC 20. I'm really in between like DC 20 and Daggerheart. Both of those are.
My
Man.
thoughts are I'm gonna have to start alternating. I'm gonna have to start having
Mhm.
seasons.
Right.
Like maybe for like 3 months we play Tales of Valiant, and then 3 months we play a different campaign
Hmm.
in Daggerheart, and then 3 months we play a different campaign in DC 20. Because yeah, like you, I'm very excited for those as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
well, yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up our discussion of it. We are definitely going to have our actual play for Tales of the Valiant
Yes.
because we're not just a Talking Heads podcast or
Hmm.
video. And you know, we we have we actually test these systems, and so
Hmm.
we're gonna have this actual play posted on our actual play YouTube channel, which is Jeff.
Which is our Raps channel, which is our rundown actual play channel.
Absolutely. So look for it there. There should be a link somewhere.
Should be down below.
um, yes, it is down below in the show
Mhm.
notes for sure. So definitely check that out. Um, and yeah, we'd love to get your comments and your feedback, not only on the actual play, but also on this episode, which is going to be
Yeah.
on the Love Thy Nerd YouTube channel, because that's where we are part of the Love Thy Nerd podcast network, and that's where it's been hosted. However, we are actually branching out. We're not going away from Love Thy Nerd,
Hmm.
but we are. Love Thy Nerd is taking all of their podcasts and YouTube channels and
Hmm.
diversifying. So we're going to have kind of a dedicated channel to us amongst their podcast network soon for next season, which will
Hmm.
kick
Yeah,
off in August, I think.
I believe so.
So that'll be great. We'll have that. We'll let you guys know on the socials. Be sure to follow us on our socials.
Hmm.
We are the only uh, RPG rundown to have socials. So if you find another
Hmm.
RPG rundown on YouTube that doesn't look like us, um, rest assured that on social media we are the ones you can talk to. So,
Right. Yeah.
um, so yeah, hit us up on socials.
Hmm.
Also, Love Thy Nerd wants to let you know that the RPG Rundown is now streaming on the Glue Network. That is GLU, Glue, which is a streaming platform available on Roku, smart TVs, as well as iPhone and Android. And it exists to unlock the inspirational value of faith centric programming, partnering with Christian content creators like Love Thy Nerd and the RPG Rundown. LTN is proud to join with our friends God Squad Church and Unity Gaming as the first group of nerd culture channels on the platform. You can download it today and search for Love Thy Nerd or the RPG Rundown.
Yeah.
And you've had a chance to check that out, haven't you?
I actually have it on two of my TVs. I've actually really enjoyed it. Let my kids watch some of the other gaming channels and stuff on there. It's
Nice.
really cool. It's nice to have.
Fantastic.
Hmm.
Fantastic. Well, also, we got to mention it again. Jeff and I are going to be at Gen Con.
We are.
We are
Yeah.
so pumped.
Hmm.
It's his second Gen Con. It's my first Gen Con, but we're coming with Love Thy Nerd, which
Hmm.
means that we're going to be serving
Hmm.
in the
I'll play booth.
with the all play booth,
Hmm.
uh, which they have some really cool stuff. They have like gaming
It's really cool
tables.
stuff.
They have gaming shelves.
Hmm.
I kind of need all of the things, but
I need all the things. This could be very dangerous for me to be there.
you know,
Yeah.
so I'll play if you want to
Mm.
hook us up.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. Wait.
I
Could it
will
be the
I
first
will
RPG Rundown
replace
sponsor? That would be cool.
my kitchen table with an all play table if they want to do that, sponsor that. So,
I will have a good conversation with my wife about that.
oh,
But
my wife will take it. I'll just move it in. It'll be
just move it
good.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah.
she may not even
Oh yeah.
notice until I take the top off. um, but no, I think
Oh yeah.
All Play has some really cool
Mhm.
stuff. So we're going to be serving with them,
Absolutely.
but at the same time, we are going to be walking around.
Hmm.
I'm going to be doing some other stuff for some miniature games that I'm a part of, BattleTech,
Yeah.
as well as the two of us are definitely going to be checking out some RPGs that are there, and
Hmm.
we are going to have some swag for you.
We are gonna have some swag
So
if you recognize us.
if you recognize us
Hmm.
and say, "Hey, RPG Rundown," or "Hey, I listen to your show," or "Hey, give me the cool thing that you have," we'll
Yeah.
just give you
Any of those things we'll
yeah, any of
respond
those
to.
things. But yeah, we're gonna have some stickers, which I think they're gonna be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Maybe some pins as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Working on that.
And I don't know. I don't know what else we might be able to scrounge up in the summer months before then, but we're gonna see what we can
Right.
do.
We'll figure it out. Either way, there'll be some cool stuff. Make sure you come see us.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, Jeff, I think that does it for now.
I believe so.
And that is a wrap on season 2.
Yeah.
Hard to believe, but
Really is.
also very exciting. So,
Hmm.
awesome. Well, hey, until next time, till season 3, follow us on socials because we'll let you know what's going on with our Gen Con. We'll let you know with
Hmm. Absolutely.
what's going on. If we have any other actual play sessions during the summer, maybe we'll see.
Hmm.
But definitely, we'll let you know what's going on with Gen Con and where we'll be and what we're wearing and how you can find us to get that cool swag.
Yep.
So we'll see you there. So with that, yeah, I think that does it. So
Yeah.
from our table to yours, thanks for joining the RPG Rundown.
Until next time, may your rolls be epic and your stories legendary.